Greetings, brothers and sisters. Couple of videos here from Alec P. Baldwin. One says, this one is back to life, back to reality. And another one, he goes after Rob Schneider, I believe. Then I got Britney had a, sort of another Instagram meltdown because of her kids. And then I want to do the Star Wars thing because I have that already going. I'll probably cover JoJo Magoo's speech on my other channel in my Hollywood celebrity videos dropping like flies. And so let's start here, though. Okay, so as it turns out, I'm not going to show you this video here. And the other one's him just getting his hair cut, which no one needs to see. But this video is about Rob Schneider and his criticism of SNL, and it's well worth covering. I'll show you the other video tomorrow on another, or some upcoming video here. The reason I'm doing this is Alec has changed his format, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think he watches my videos, and I hope he doesn't. But I talked about how he had done his videos in a much better format, where I'm allowed to adjust the volume, and I can comment in real time. But there's many people who put Instagram videos up where the volume is set and it's too loud, and so my voiceover and his talking or Britney's talking or whoever it is, Madonna's talking, Madam Expiration Date, and I have to capture the video first and then edit it in a different way. And they're two long videos. So I'm not going to do both of them today because it just wouldn't work out. It would be too much Alec. So let's start here with the Rob Schneider one.
Last days of summer out here. Going back to the city. Put the kids in school. Everybody's growing up.
All right, so Alec, the other videos about how him and his family are leaving their Hampton home in the expensive Hampton area by the ocean and going back to New York City in their luxury apartment. Privilege.
Everybody's growing up. Itama Ben.
Okay, he also talks to his dogs in Spanish. We saw it with Woody Allen, and we'll see it in the other video I'll cover tomorrow. And we're going to see it here, and I'm going to grab all the clips, and I'm going to post them because he talks to his dogs in a fake Spanish accent. We now know that's a thing because he's done it 3 times. When he talks to his dogs, he uses a fake Spanish accent because his dogs understand Spanish and not English. I ask you not. It's a true thing. You'll see it again in this video, and I'll make a whole thing tomorrow about it because it's hilarious.
I mean, I guess it must be an incredibly slow news cycle if we're talking about Rob Schneider's thoughts about Kate McKinnon playing Hillary Clinton.
So Rob Schneider talked about how he knew Saturday Night Live was over, jumped the shark, it was done, when he saw Kate McKinnon singing Hallelujah after Hillary Clinton lost. And I was like, I think everyone was like, what the? It was bad. And it lost any sense of being a comedy show after that. It was just, C-level propaganda for the Democratic Party and Trump hate. That's what it became. Let's take a look at the Hallelujah song here. So this is what Rob Schneider was talking about. It starts here with Kate McKinnon comes out. She's so multi-talented. And
minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah.
So she's singing here as Hillary Clinton.
I've seen this room and I've walked this floor. I used before I knew you.
Is that supposed to be funny? Like you're singing, kind of a great song. Leonard Cohen wrote some incredible music for, I guess he was some Zen monk or something, and they took his money or whatever. People did, Hollywood people, I don't know. But at some point you got to start feeling self-conscious that
Wrong. I'll stand before the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue
but what is it?
Hallelujah.
Go for it. He's going for it here.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Woo!
I'm not giving up, and neither should you. And live from New York, it's Saturday night.
And so that was weird as F, right? And it wasn't funny at all, obviously, but and their attachment to somebody who's a horrible person. Like Hillary Clinton is one of the worst people, right? I mean, just one of the worst public figures. Really unlikable. And I'm not even talking about the deeds and the shady things and what right-wing people believe about what she and Bill Clinton did, all these things, right? There's all these, all the things that people in the left believe about Trump and all the things that the people on the right believe about Hillary Clinton, right? All the secret stuff, all the whatever it is, right? I'm not even talking about any of that. I'm talking about just their presentation as a person. And none of these politicians are good people. They've, delved into what is one of the lower vibrational professions is a national politician. I've been talking about we've been watching the show Veep, which does a great job of showing you how, evil and self-centered and, just all the lower level qualities, superficial politicians are. And it's, like an accurate portrayal, and it's as much as a sitcom could be, right? That they're all, they don't care about anybody but themselves, right? And, the narcissism. And Hillary Clinton just, nothing in terms of like positive energy that could draw somebody, like no charisma, no, anything. Like just this, someone who emits this horrible energy. It just, when you watch her, you're like, oh my God, will you stop talking? And just, it's hard to absorb, even if you didn't know anything about her policies, whether you're a Republican or Democrat or any, you're just meeting this person, just a bad person, right? Like just somebody who's really unlikable and just radiates negative energy. And like at least Trump is kind of funny. He's got his like whatever. They all have their good things or bad things in terms of their ability to connect with people, even if they're going to screw the people over, right? Later on. Like I don't think Trump's a good person either. But Hillary Clinton clearly just unlikable in ways that, even the Democrats really couldn't like her, And maybe the worst one, like in terms of the worst politician because of the unlikability factor. Like there's nothing to like about her. And she screwed Bernie Sanders. She basically bought she bought her way into becoming the nominee, raised the most money, had the most powerful people, and she was rejected. And like from that rejection, America has gone downhill because the left couldn't take Trump. They couldn't, have the idea that Trump could be president, all these things. And so because of that, we have all the division, all the things that are in there. Both of these people were divisive persons. They were put in there for that reason. Trump was unbelievably divisive, as was Hillary. The right was never going to accept Hillary as a president, given all their, they they hated Bill Clinton, but Hillary was another level. And so now, the country is where it is, and that was intentional. People fell for it, right? And, this Saturday Night Live thing was just atrocious. It was like, it was already sucking. Saturday Night Live wasn't good beforehand. But then they just went on a They went completely to the left in a way that was offensive, and there was no chance of it being funny. And they left all this great comedy material on the table. They left all this great comedy material on the table now with Jojo Magoo and his crackhead son and all of it, because they're so politically one-sided. But let's get back to the Alec Baldwin thing here.
So many years ago. I mean, we started that in 2017. It's 2016 during the campaign, and then in November he was elected, unbelievably, and we did the show. I did it for those 4 years.
Enough about Kate McKinnon and Rob Schneider. Let's talk about you, Alec.
A lot the first year, a little less the second year, a little less the third year, and not a whole lot the fourth year. But I just want to say one thing, which is that, I'm from the school, having been in this business for a while, where, you criticize someone's judgment, and you leave out the idea that you had no problem with their judgment. You had no problem with their judgment when they hired you.
There's Alec looking rough. This is his major point here. His point is that they hired Rob Schneider. Lorne Michaels did. And now Rob Schneider's saying, hey, his judgment's bad. That's the meat of his argument here. Oh, yeah, and Trump's evil. A maniac. A maniac on the floor. Alec, in his other video I'll cover tomorrow, he addresses the bags under his eyes. So that's great. A lot of good things here. But he kind of goes over the rail here.
When that judgment led them to hire you and put you on the show. And of course, Rob Schneider had a great run, and he's funny. I think he's funny. Rob's very, very funny. But like other people who I separate conservatives that are professional, political class, and TV pundits and all that Fox News trash and all those idiots over there. And
exactly. We prefer this idiot right here. Enough of those idiots when we got this idiot right here.
The Post and everything. Anything Murdoch touches is just contemptible. But with the exception of the Post sports page, I've always said this, the Post has a good sports page. They got a good sports department. The rest of it is vomit, but they got a good sports page.
New York Post at page 6. Most of it's vomit, but they do sports really well. They're, everything else they do vomit. Sports, it's just great. Everything else, Hollywood celebrity culture, vomit. Politics, vomit. Covering about New York City, double vomit. And you talk about Alec Baldwin, triple vomit. But sports, man, they talk about the Yankees, and it's all good.
Look at the wind blowing in the trees. I think the fall's coming.
No way. Are you locking in on that prediction? Final answer? The fall is actually coming. It's summer, and now we're heading into fall. Come on, Alec. Are you willing to be that bold? You're in New York State, and it's September, and you believe the fall might be coming? I've never heard of such things.
Anyway, so if you're in a political class, pundits, newscasters, news in quotes, academics, writers, analysts, whatever, former government officials, then that's one thing. But artists, musicians, actors, and so forth who go into politics, it's a different thing. And I've been involved in advocacy on a bunch of specific issues for many, many years. Worked with a group of people that I really admired, and I won't get into that right now. But, the other ones are the ones who identify as conservatives, who I think in LA they have like their own little club, you know what I mean? The people who are conservatives who feel that they are treated badly by Hollywood, or they're treated unfairly by Hollywood. I've read that where they're like, oh, they don't get cast and they get punished for being conservatives, which I find, the business As far as I am concerned, the business will hire anybody. If you're right for the role and you fit their budget and.
This is how the inability of his he doesn't have the ability to self-perceive, because he's going to whine about not working in this video and the other video I'm going to show you tomorrow. And he whined various places that he can't get work now because of, he shot a coworker, right? But we know that they, but he's going to talk about Me Too and all this, but this has been a long going thing in Hollywood. You were supposed to have one point of view, and that was backing the Democrats. And anybody who's been a backer of a Republican, I mean, they canceled that Tim Allen show that was doing well. And they've gotten rid of all these conservative shows that were doing well in the ratings, right? I mean, they've, pushed the conservative culture, country music people, to toe the line, all this stuff. When there's plenty of people who agree with them, right? Who agree with all their points of view, all these right-wing leaning people. And I'm not a right-wing person. I'm not I don't believe in it, right? I believe it's all just a scam. It's they give you two choices. But we know now, it's been a very liberal Hollywood that had to bend to the will of the conservative coalition. When I grew up, the conservatives and the Republican Party had a lot of power. And liberal Hollywood had to, sort of kowtow to that mentality, but now they're not doing it anymore. And all along, they ostracize people more and more. And all these conservative, Hollywood types, Rob Schneider, or these other people, Rob Schneider's anti-you-know-what, right? And so, they've all been targeted. It's like ridiculous for him to claim anything else, right? But he's going to come up with some story when he himself has been canceled for something real, where his wife faked an accent that now includes the dogs. And also, shooting a coworker.
Your price is right. They don't care. Until we got into the cancel culture, they don't care what you do. People who were drunks, and they were DUIs, and they were cheating on their wives or husbands.
Or shooting a cinematographer, your cinematographer, and then blaming everyone else, even though you were holding the gun, you pulled the trigger, and you, were the producer of the movie. Something like that. That might get you canceled as well.
The whole litany of that kind of old school 50s Hollywood that they tried to cover up. And now there's no covering up anything, I guess. But I hear that these conservatives say that there's a bias against them. And I think that's unfortunate. There's people that I know, and I won't name them, who are conservatives, who are arch conservatives, who I enjoy them as actors a lot. So Schneider brings this up now, and he's criticizing, and I guess it must be tough. I mean, I know that in the Trump era, it's tough for conservatives. It's really, really probably, I gotta think it's agony, because you've got this guy that's got control of the party. He's like a virus that's taken over your party, and you're all raising money on his reputation and his energy field.
They have no ability to discern how bad Jojo Magoo is, right? And how bad Hillary Clinton was. Like, they just can't see it. I mean, same way the Trumpers can't see what Trump is. It's like, it's mind-boggling.
Itana, come.
Yeah, there it is again. He's talking to his dogs in a Spanish accent.
But my point is it's the end of the summer. That's why I'm rambling here. My point is that.
So you believe your rambling is seasonal? Because I've watched a number of your Instagram videos, bro, and it's a year-round phenomenon.
I know it's tough. It's not Barry Goldwater. It's not, Nelson Rockefeller, John McCain. Somebody I was completely the opposite of in terms of his policies, but, a real American, a real person.
Wait, is that a songbird? Oh, it was a car horn. I thought it was a songbird for a second.
I didn't know that people had their alarms on out here. Anyway, McCain, he was an amazing guy. Didn't agree with him, but he was an amazing guy. Some things I like about Romney. He's a good guy. I met him. He's a decent guy. I don't agree with him on a lot of things. Very proud of Liz Cheney. Don't agree with her about a lot of things. Very proud of her, what she's done. Left it all on the field. Sacrificed everything to make a point.
So your Republicans that you think Republicans can be proud of are not Nelson Rockefeller, John McCain, Mitt Romney, and Liz Cheney, right? Those are like the worst ones, Alec. Alec, those are the worst ones. Dick Cheney and other people with him, but those are some of the worst ones. John McCain was a complete sellout. Nelson Rockefeller and his family are amongst the most evil people and used to go to work at 30 Rock Plaza all the time for your crappy sitcom. And then Mitt Romney, maybe the most annoying person in politics, and a loser. John McCain, loser, right? Liz Cheney, loser, and the son of one of the most evil people ever. And those are the good ones.
Didn't want to get into the whole Trump madness. So it must be tough for people who are in the arts, I always believe they see things slightly differently than the average person. The average person is goaded into voting their wallet and voting their interest much of the time and let everybody else take care of themselves. I'm talking about conservatives. And some people say that liberals want to take more of your money to give it away to other people who maybe should be more self-sufficient. I don't know. But the arts provide you with a way of looking at life and looking at people, which is, I'm not going to say it's better or smarter or more evolved. It's different. It's different. It seeks to find what we have in common. It seeks to prove the idea that everybody in the piece thinks they're right. You do a movie and you do a play and you do a TV show and you're playing a role, and everybody you work with is taught one thing, and that is, how do you play your character and you convince everybody that you're right? You believe you're right. And again, the most arch examples, Hitler and all these other things. How do you play the guy who's not, locking himself in the bathroom and going, oh my God, I can't believe these lies I'm spouting to people. Everybody believes they're right.
It's kind of like somebody who, shoots a coworker and doesn't think it's their fault, right? Or somebody who grew up in Boston, Spain, and, with white Anglo parents and somehow doesn't speak, even though English is their first language, they speak with an accent, and, the family talks to their dogs in Spanish, like something like that, right? They just believe they're right. If you convince yourself of the lies long enough.
And that must be tough for people to view politics through that filter today, where Trump is the subject. As I've said countless times publicly, Trump is the only person who served as president, the only person in our country's history who served as president and was unchanged by the process. He was exactly the same when he came out as when he started. And he's still the same. He's even worse, I guess.
Well, that would mean he changed. Dumb beep. Beep. You dumb beep. You dumb beep. Like, that would mean he changed. If he's worse, he changed. There's no way that you become president for 4 years, you don't change in some way. There's no way, right? Like, it's just stupid. And, you're comparing him to people who dropped atomic bombs on countries and ordered wars and all kinds of horrible things, right? Presidents have done horrible things. I don't know how you would quantify them, but some are obviously worse than others. And Trump, not so much, right? Trump just wasn't acting presidential. And for that, like these faketivists and these, even the hardcore even these establishment Republicans and Of course, the media are like demonizing him. Like, he's not worse than most of the presidents.
That must be tough for the Rob Schneiders of the world. It must be tough that your man is a maniac.
Are you trying to be empathetic or are you just mocking him, right? That your man's a maniac. What about your man, right? Your man is a plagiarist. For years, one of his first moments when he ran for president, he got caught stealing speeches. He's just an out-and-out liar, caught lying again and again. Career politician, a snoozler, a sniffler, a groper. He voted for all those wars. He droned children, 7 of them, in Afghanistan. He was with Obama when Obama droned hundreds of innocent civilians. He voted for the illegal wars, one after another. Vietnam, right? He was a part of that. I mean, the guy was on the wrong side of so many things. And he's just a clown, a liar, or just a bad person. Raised a crackhead son who impregnated a stripper named Dallas from Arkansas, right? And he's, denied his grandchild, doesn't even acknowledge that he has a crack baby grandchild. And he gave that horrible speech, and that's your guy, right? And it must suck. It must be really difficult for you to have a guy like that, right? To somehow have to rationalize a guy like that.
There's a lot of charges we make against people, Democrat and Republican. They are sexual peccadillos, their attitude toward money, spending, what they think the purpose of government is, bigger government, smaller government, the American, the America as a police force and sticking our nose into people's business around the country for our economic interest, not necessarily democracy building. But there's a lot of criticisms that are hurled back and forth between the two sides about the same bunch of issues. But Trump stands alone. Trump is alone. Trump is an anomaly. Trump is a maniac.
Okay, so what did he do? What did Trump do? Why is he so much worse? Name what he did. Name one big horrific thing that he did. Did he drop atomic bombs on people? No. Did he drone kids? No. Did he start wars? No. What did he do? Right? He said things that you didn't like. He tweeted in the middle of the night, and he didn't act presidential. He didn't do anything. Well, tell me what Trump did. What was the worst thing that Trump did? Is it worse than dropping a bomb, a droning bomb on 7 kids, which Jojo Magoo has done, right? I mean, some bailouts and, there's people who are in the truth community that would say Trump did the thing with the warp speed or whatever, right? But, what's the worst thing for Alec Baldwin? What's the worst thing he would think Trump did?
Who convinced people that he should become the president of the United States. And he succeeded. And continues 2 years later of saying, we should change the results of the election and blah, blah, blah.
You mean like Hillary whined about her defeat, blamed the Russians and everything else for 4 years? Even now, she's still doing it. 6 years. You mean like Hillary? I mean, there's lots of people who felt like they got cheated and lost. It's not as bad as dropping bombs on children.
Anyway, I'm going to stop here, but it's just, to me, it's like, I look at Rob Schneider and he's like, why, and I think he made some comment about, he thought that my performance as Trump wasn't very good and was very mean-spirited. And number one, I agree with him partly, that is that it wasn't very good, meaning I wasn't aiming for the most deft impersonation. Brendan Gleeson did a very good job in that Comey piece that he did with Jeff Daniels. And you watched him carefully where he's like walking that edge and not getting into that kind of parody. With Trump, it's difficult because it's just, he's a parody of himself. We've heard that ad nauseum. But I agree with Rob Schneider. I don't think I did a very good job in impersonating Trump. I gave Trump what he deserved. I wanted Trump to be a cartoon.
And I'm giving you what you deserve, right? You're getting, like, you gave Trump what he deserved, and I'm giving you what you deserve. And so many other people are now, Alec, because of your bad day on set and everything else that you've done that sucks. But let's take a look at his Trump impersonation. So here's Alec Baldwin as Trump. In his Trump doesn't do this with his lips, right? This is something Alec does. Alec has a ducky lip expression, which I documented when I first started covering him because it was when Trump was still president. And he was just doing an exaggerated version of himself. And all the things he dislikes about Trump are things we know about him. And, it's come out with the shooting and dealing with his wife's scandal and all of it, right? That he is Trump and he doesn't even know he's Trump, right? His handling, throwing people under the bus, the people that he hired and put in positions, a young woman who was the armorer, who, was a low budget film he was a producer on, and he was the big star, and they created an unsafe environment. And then, he was a big part of all of that. And then throwing them all under the bus to save himself. This is Trump behavior, right? Trump did the same thing in terms of the way he went out of office. He did it throughout his presidency. He did it in business. Alec's the same guy, right? And so, but his impression was horrible.
Urgent, important national emergency.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like him, doesn't look like him, no mannerisms. There's nothing in this impression that would make you think this is Trump, right?
This is a big one, so I don't want to waste any time. That's why first I'd like to blow my own horn a little bit, okay? I just had a great health exam. I'm still standing 6'7".
The guy just can't do it. He's not an impersonator. And so it wasn't funny. They didn't have good material. The only thing is they had a joint hatred of Trump. The audience who watched Saturday Night Live now was all very liberal Democrats who hated Trump. It still wasn't a very big audience. Like the show was failing. And the cast and the liberal, Hollywood celebrity culture was all, left-wing people. And so, it's okay because we all hate Trump, right? Your impression can suck because we all hate Trump. That was the idea behind this thing. Like, he could get away with this because, everyone hated Trump. Like, he was watching it.
185 pounds, shredded. Also, we have
Laugh track. They have to put the laugh track in here. Like, it just keeps on going on.
this national emergency, right? I have to because I want to. It's really simple. We have a problem. Drugs
Like, it's just horrible. No jokes.
are coming into this country through no wall. I asked President Xi if they had a drug problem in China.
He didn't even nail the China right. He just, there was some 8th grade kid who was out there doing a better impression of Trump at this time. Remember, he was hitting the circuit.
The hustler, okay? Look, before I take the next question, I just want to swerve way the hell out.
So anyways, this was, it was unfunny. Saturday Night Live ceased to be funny at all after the election. Before that, it was really, years in the making. But when they couldn't now cover the Democrats with any real criticism. They couldn't cover Washington, D.C. and politics because Trump was like the worst person in the world, and they felt like it was their job to go out there and get him. And that's what Alec felt too when he did all these Instago posts. And now stuff like this is happening where he's getting mocked regularly. Like, he went out there, and I'm not a Trump supporter, but once you enter that world, right? You enter that world of, forcing everybody to, just everything that happened with the Trump hate. And Alec went all in on his Instagram page, and now, he's got his own problems, right?
I wanted to take Trump to another level of, kind of madness and silliness and just weirdness, Trump is a guy who he embodies everything you don't want in the president of the United States. You don't want. Dama! Everything you don't want. And, sort of Rob Schneider and, all these other conservative, and especially conservative comedy. Oh my God, we're having a problem here. Itana! You with the people who are comics, Dennis, what's his name? Lovitz, Dennis Miller, People who, I guess, post 9/11, they had a different view of the country and how the country should be run, if you will. But here's Rob Schneider mentioning, listen, SNL is a live TV show that's performed live, obviously, on Saturday, obviously, at night, obviously.
So I'm getting all this with the dogs. My dogs are listening. And then his other one, I'm going to get that, and I'm going to go back and get the other one from Woody. And I'm going to show you how he talks. I mean, you've already seen it, but it's going to be more comprehensive how he talks in Spanish with a fake Spanish accent to his dogs, right? It's just wonderful. Another meme here. I got a couple memes here. I'll get some more memes for tomorrow. But this thing is just so ridiculous. Like, just a total lack of understanding how people are feeling about all of it, right?
And, they're in an office in a meeting on a Monday, and the show is live by Saturday. It's not easy. Of course, I'm going to defend them. They're my friends. They're old pals of mine. And, I divide the episodes of SNL the way I divide everything else. You look at an actor's career, you look at a director's career. Itana! No! Come! You look at the way I divide it into thirds. A third of it's good, a third of it's, so-so, and a third of it's not very good. And a third of the episodes of SNL have been good, and a third have been so-so, and a third of them have been not so good. It's just that's just everybody's batting. Everybody's batting .333.
It's not funny. Like, I laugh all the time at stuff. We watch that show Veep. Lots of good jokes on that. I've been talking about that show, right? There are, jokes all the time. Comedian jokes. People send me bits. I laugh all the time. I laugh at stuff you say, right? I mean, not the way you want me to laugh, but it's still funny. Saturday Night Live, only in the sense of it sucking is it funny. There's nothing there. They don't have a good sketch anymore. Like, you think you could produce one, right? I mean, it's not funny. You don't laugh. He wouldn't laugh at it, right? It's just not funny. It sucks. There's no defending it, right? There's no excuses. They got a team of comedy writers. I produce content every day, and I make jokes that people laugh at, right? I make, jokes I laugh at, or I see things that are funny here every day. Like, I make, things that are funny. And Saturday Night Live has a team of comedians and writers, and they can't come up with one joke or one good bit in, a weekly basis. It's ridiculous.
Itana, come! And, it's, that's no different than any other program. And it is topical. They're going to talk about what's going on, and that's what's expected of SNL. And it's worked. Hey, in a couple more years, they're going to be doing their 50th season. 50. So they must be doing something right.
They're political shills, so they're allowed to stay going because they're shilling for an agenda and a political party that nobody really wants, right? They're doing something right. They're being shills. And that, shills make money.
Of course, I love Lorne. I love the institution that is SNL. I've had a lot of fun with them. But, you got to be careful. Someone taught me this in this business. That is, you got to be careful when you criticize people for their judgment. And you turn around, you pause for a moment and realize, well, that judgment of theirs led them to hire... Itana, hush! I'm being upstaged by a dog. That's where my career is at right now. Itanta! Come! You criticize their judgment till you realize that judgment led them to hire you once upon a time. So, everybody just, take it easy.
Yeah, like, don't shoot anybody, right? Now, this has gone on long, so I want to get into everything else, but that was just brilliant at the end where he said he's being upstaged by a dog. This is where his career is. And I got all that. Like, I got a whole thing. I'm going to do a whole thing tomorrow. Probably put it out in a video and then separately because it'll be great. He talks to his dog in a fake Spanish accent. That's what happens at the Hilaria Baldwin household. All right, let's move on to Britney. This one, Britney J. Spears. She did this thing about sort of a more reasonable reaction to her kid's interview. And then she says, here, she's entered Madonna land. Thank you to my fans for making my song number one for a week now. Her song, not Elton John's song that she, wrecked. Right? I mean, it's way worse with her version with him. But, like she hasn't released something in forever. She has lots of fans, so they all bought it. It's horrible, hard to listen to. But that's like Britney Spears. That's like a Madam Expiration Date land. Their careers are following a very similar path. But then she does this. She's doing one of her, touch your hair, come out, wear a hat. She's doing it all. She's got all these things, right? Geez, see, it hits me later. The fact that I'm doing a song with Elton John makes me want to frickin' cry. He's me and my mother's favorite musician. I listen to driving hours to dance class from ages 8 to 14. See again, what the F? So she adds a couple H's here and a couple H's here and a lot of U's here. Wow, what an honor to be with such gifted hands. We already know. My son might give me a run for his money. I have so much footage of him playing, yet my children are freaking geniuses. Okay, so is that sarcastic? Because with you and Kevin Federline as their genetic genetic gene pool, they're not geniuses, right? That would be kind of weird that they would be both geniuses when you and Kevin Federline are their biological parents. It's kind of scary. He stopped seeing me. I posted something of him, but he got really mad. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to post my loving family. Either way, I'm so sorry, children. I continue to do social media. I'm so sorry you feel I do it for the attention. Well, this is a complete attention grabbing. Well, you do it 100% for the attention, right? That's why everyone does social media. I mean, and money, right? Money and attention. You're not making money. So this is for attention. Like this is attention-seeking behaviors. I'm sorry you feel I do it for the attention. I'm sorry for the way you feel, but guess what? ? I've got news for you. I'm a child of God as well as we all are in God's eyes. So nope, I'm not sorry. I've learned to say so. Kabloom! She did it. She went in. Somebody gave her a heart. Long hair on you is heaven. Somebody wrote something in Spanish there. Maybe it's Alec Baldwin's dog. Anyways, she's just crazy and her kids, I mean, there's nothing to see here, folks. Let's go to Star Wars. Okay, so I'm not sure where this is going to go in the video. Probably the end of the video on Saturday. This is Friday today. But I was thinking about this last night, and I went and started watching the A New Hope. I found a scene in which Obi-Wan Kenobi is encouraging Luke Skywalker to go after his sister. Like, it's pretty blatant. I discussed this in 2 previous videos, and this is like the old videos I used to make where after I started thinking about something, I'm like, wow, that really is effed up, right? So the first 2 Star Wars movies intentionally created a love triangle where 2 of the characters were siblings. And George Lucas said he knew they were brother and sister all along. And there was this sort of, Team Luke, Team Han Solo kind of a deal there, and these kind of love triangles that was going to be resolved in the 3rd movie. And it was resolved by Harrison Ford winning over Princess Leia, really in the 2nd movie, although there was some, still wasn't resolved, and marrying her, right? And then it came out that Luke was actually her brother, which made all of this stuff really creepy. And it gets even creepier when you see the TV show Obi-Wan Kenobi, because like you were like, oh wow, he knew about all this stuff ahead of time and encouraged it, and didn't stop it from happening, and it's also playing on the audience. It's just really kind of despicable. And so this is Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford talk their Star Wars love triangle in this long Lost Empire Strikes Back documentary.
And their involvements being chased and chasing each other and the romantic thing. I mean, that's where he gets his big chance.
So movies are based in or have, in terms of their like fundamental universal building blocks. I talked about the cartoon universe where there's this Warner Brothers documentary, and the guy said in a cartoon universe there are no rules because whatever you can draw, whatever you could imagine, and now of course with computers even more so, you can do. So they had to make up rules. Like every time Wile E. Coyote got something from Acme, it would backfire, right? There's these rules of those universes. And the Star Wars movies, and in many movies, they have these plot lines and subplot lines. And one of the major plot lines was who would Princess Leia wind up with, right? I mean, that was established. Her brother, right? Or the scoundrel Han Solo.
At first, she's a princess after all, and I'm an opportunist.
There was an old clip that I saw, an old interview with Mark Hamill, and I went through so many of these old clips, and Mark Hamill is like one of the most annoying people. And he's such a whiner in the last trilogy, his character, but he's like a whiner in real life, very effeminate, and just likes to talk. But the quote that I couldn't find is he said, something like, Princess Leia would be a chump to fall for Han Solo when he was asked about the love triangle. And, he was rooting for his character to be with her and didn't know she was his sister until the final script, right? They kept all these things secret from them. There was a Maria Shriver interview that I'm not going to show you here where he talked about how secret it was, and they would, they did this with the Marvel movies. They would shoot scenes to throw off the actors and the crew so they couldn't, they didn't know exactly how it was going to end. I mean, all these things, right? To give away the plot. But this is about their love triangle.
Mercenary type, but it develops into a love story, as it were.
And they had an affair in real life, which Carrie Fisher talked about.
Lovely girl, the princess.
Give me 3 weeks, in hyperspace with her, I might make a few points, so burned about that.
Like, so he was bummed about that. Like, he said this in several interviews back then.
The poor dear. It's quite shocking. I think he's of course fond of the princess himself.
You mean his sister?
It starts out as a kind of triangle, and then I'm thrown together with Han Solo. Ends up being one of those relationships like Tracy and Hepburn or Bogart and Bacall, or Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, where we scream at each other for the first half of the film.
And so I want to show this clip because in the Obi Wan Kenobi TV show, her 10-year-old self, going back in time when her character is 10 years old, they have this annoying girl who looks like she's 5, and she it's a very contentious relationship between Obi Wan Kenobi and young Princess Leia, like what she's describing here.
No way! You can't just leave me here!
I'm the one that Vader wants. If I go, he will follow.
I'm not letting you!
Leia, please.
Wait.
You are all the future. You are the future. You're what needs to survive.
No.
Leia.
I find she needs to be given space.
You got to give her some space, man. And so there's many interactions where she's screaming at him like this, and there's just a weird dynamic between them. And it's a very similar dynamic between the, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, and Han Solo. And so, like, romantic tension, and it's the 10-year-old girl here, right? This is something they do in movies where the two people hate each other, like Sam and Diane in Cheers, right? These, relationships where they're very adversarial at first, and then that's, but they come together at the end. And I showed in my other video clips of this, right? In terms of these, her holding his hand, just creepy stuff. you know, it's clearly designed to do that, right? In Disney fashion, in a very subtle way.
Step on each other and hit each other, and then we end up liking each other.
Leia and Han, or Leia and Luke, how the Star Wars cast answered the love triangle question in 1980. So there was the two interviews, which I said. There was the one done by Jane Pauley here. I'll show you that. And this one, Luke hints at. So this is, when The Empire Strikes Back was coming out. There wasn't a genuine answer here. But in this clip, Carrie Fisher says this.
How are you going to get married in the third one? And who is it going to be?
I don't know. That's not...
So, this was something that people were focused on. This is something that had to be resolved. Who would Princess Leia choose, right? And to involve a incestuous relationship in that and have, the world watching that, because, this was... at the time, the biggest blockbuster. I mean, there wasn't any kind of movie. I mean, we see this now with The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and, all these other type of, these trilogy type movies that are these big franchises making billions of dollars. But this was the first of those, right?
That George is writing all that now. I don't know if they even have marriage in space.
Yeah.
I figure I'll throw both Mark and Harrison what they call the carbon freezing chamber, make a mesh of both of them, and I'll have a scoundrel and this nice guy, and I'll have the perfect mesh of a guy.
Put them up as trophies or something, yeah.
So, this was something they were all talking about. So then there was this. So this was the bikini outfit of Carrie Fisher, right? Another thing where she's got his hand on her hip here. And this was, in a movie where it's going to be revealed. He might have already known. His character might have known she was his sister, right? And she's, bikini glad. I mean, look at this thing right here, right? This, love triangle there. And here is Luke. She gives him another kiss. So there's 3 or 4 kisses that happened between her and her brother. And there were, these scenes, these long scenes, and just really creepy, right? And creepy for the audience because this was being misled, right? Bait and switch. I mean, going back to the first movie, which I'll cover. I'll go back to the first movie because that's what this part of the video is about anyway. But I just wanted to, I did all this research. I want to do this today. I'll do the movie tomorrow. Right? So there's just, and the way he's looking at her. He's not looking at her like a brother would look at a sister. So there was something else from George Lucas where he took a blockbuster, of course, the Indiana Jones blockbusters. The script states that Marion's age in Raiders of the Lost Ark is 25 years old, making her around 15 at the time of the affair with a 27-year-old Indy. Now, I've covered this before in some long video. I don't know where I could even find that, but either way, maybe I'll find that and I'll clip it and I'll put it here. But it's really creepy, and apparently this was something that was pushed by George Lucas, not even Steven Spielberg. The creepy Steven Spielberg was behind this. But the character Marion had an affair with Indy, and she talked about how young she was when they were together, and he was, I think, 25. It was a Reddit quote. When George Lucas was discussing the relationship between Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenwood in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he envisioned her being 11 or 12 and Indiana Jones around 25 years old when he had an affair with her. Again, I did make a video about this, and maybe I have more extensive research in that. And if I do, I'll find it and put it in here. But the main focus on this is getting to the fact that Obi Wan Kenobi as a character in this movie knew that they were brother and sister and saw which way this was going and encouraged it, right? Encouraged Luke to go after her instead of saying, hey, that's your sister. Okay, so I have a few more clips to show you from Empire Strikes Back and the first movie with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda. And because, now that they've fleshed out the plot through 9 movies and, a couple of spin-off movies and multiple TV shows and things, And it's just getting creepier and creepier. So there are two choices. That George Lucas knew from the very start that Luke was Leia's sister. And that's really creepy, right? And I'm showing you, I'm going to get to the Neil Diamond song, Sweet Caroline, because that ties into it as well. So I got all these other clips. And so that's really creepy. Or he decided sometime between Empire Strikes Back and the Return of the Jedi, and there was still some flirtation and some, resolution that had to happen in Return of the Jedi. So either he decided then, and he decided to say, okay, she's going to go with Han Solo, and let's make her Luke's brother, which is equally as creepy. I don't know which is worse because of the already, relationship that they had, right? And so there's this train of thought out there that Luke Skywalker was going to be the, protagonist in the movie. And he was so annoying and he didn't connect with the audience that people like Han Solo better. And so there's this love triangle, and somewhere George Lucas was, just making it up as he went along. But all along he said he's had a pretty strong framework of what was going to happen in these films. And, the problem with both of those narratives is there's a pattern of behavior here that's tied in with multiple characters and, things to do with Steven Spielberg and with Neil Diamond and Natalie Portman, because Neil Diamond had a similar issue. And that was that he wrote a very sexual song about a 5-year-old Caroline Kennedy. And, he's told this story about how he pulled out a Life magazine, or saw Life magazine, and she was on the cover. And he looked at her, she was so cute, and, whatever he felt about it. I mean, that's what he said, right? And he came up with this song, but people were like, well, that song is really, about a romantic relationship, and that's really, really creepy. And then he changed it to saying that it was about his wife. Like, he said two different things in different places, and that made it even kind of worse. Caroline Kennedy gave a speech in which she said that, this song was about her, and she kind of, made a joke that was kind of creepy, right? He was getting a Kennedy Award. And it was made worse by this movie where Natalie Portman played this character named Marty. Of course, Natalie Portman ended up being Luke Skywalker's mother and Darth Vader's lover, right? And so in this movie where she played this character Marty, a creepy Timothy Hutton falls in love. He's breaking up with his girlfriend. He goes back to his hometown, and he falls in love with a 10 or 12-year-old, similar age to, Leia in this other series, right? And so they acknowledge their feelings for each other, and she's skating, and she kind of tells them what's going to happen, and they can't act on it and all these things. Of course, Natalie Portman played in that movie. I think it's called Leon the Professional or something like that. The guy's a hitman. It's got MK Ultra mind control stuff and a very sexualized Natalie Portman who's like between 8 and 10 years old or something like this, right? So she was in 2 creepy movies like this, and then she played in the Star Wars movies, and then she gave birth to these 2 twins. It's all weirdly tied together by either, actors or, the stuff with that happened with Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford, and he was, the scene was the Marion character was yelling at him because they had a tough relationship when he was, an adult 25 and she was 15, right? Because she's 25 now, and it happened 10 years ago. And George Lucas said, I couldn't find the quote, but I found it in the video. I can't find the video that I made. It's somewhere on a, external hard drive somewhere. It's not still up on YouTube, even privatized, but whatever. And he said him and Steven Spielberg had a debate about this, and they were like, he was like, let's make something spicy, right? And so this is a common theme. And then you have this weird, creepy relationship where the siblings are sexualized, and they're characters in the show, responsible characters, Jedi Masters, that don't tell them, right? And so let's go review that here.
Well, my little friend,
Get something jammed in here real good.
He just said, well, my little friend, you have something jammed in here real good.
Were you on a Star Cruiser?
Help me, Obi Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
What's this?
It's much worse technology than we have now. It's much worse hologram technology than we have now.
Help me, Obi Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Pay it no mind.
Who is she? She's beautiful.
Does she have a fans only or Instagram page? Can I get her number? It's your sister, bro, right? And so either choice here, that he knew all along, George Lucas, or he, made it up later, it's not appropriate, right? Because this is, when you're seeing this, I saw this, I would think I was, 13 or something. I remember being like 8 or 9, but, based on when this was released, I was like 13. But when you saw this for the first time, you assume that they were going to be romantically involved because of the way he's reacting. He stares and he does it multiple times. And then there's this.
I'm afraid I'm not quite sure,
Help
sir.
me, Obi Wan Kenobi.
He says that he is the property of Obi Wan Kenobi, a resident of these parts, and it's a private message for him.
Obi Wan Kenobi. I wonder if he means old Ben Kenobi.
So when you see the TV series, and I guess the movies as well, certainly the first 3 movies, the prequels, that Obi-Wan Kenobi is significant. And when you go into a witness protection program and you got Darth Vader and his dark side of the Force hunting you, you have to change your last name, especially when it's Kenobi, right? You don't change Obi to Ben and think that no one's going to notice.
I wonder who she is. You're my only hope. Sounds like she's in trouble. I better play back the whole thing.
So this is how Obi-Wan Kenobi reacts when he knows, or should know, that Luke is his sister, or Leia is Luke's sister, but he withholds the information, and he even encourages him to pursue her in some romantic way here.
Years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire on Alderaan. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi Wan Kenobi.
He stares at her with these loving eyes, right? He's clearly transfixed, which Obi-Wan Kenobi would know, and he would say, uh-oh, there's trouble here, because it's his sister, right? I better nip this in the bud.
Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to get home. It's late. I'm in for it as it is.
I need your help, Luke. She needs your help. She needs your help. She needs your help.
So that's Sir Alec Guinness, a knight, he's been knighted by the Queen, which is, that's really creepy because he should know. He knows what's going on with this horny young 19-year-old who's stuck on a farm. He just saw a beautiful princess. He's like, hey, she needs your help, buddy. Yeah, that one. Yeah, you might have a chance at her. And he knows it's her sister. And so if he doesn't know, like I've written some books and I weave stories together here. When you are a storyteller and you weave together narratives, you have to consider things like this, right? You have to understand, where the story is going. You have to have a framework, and you have to kind of honor the story. And you can't change things because of popularity or what people want to see or, any of these things. And so, this was established. There was a romantic interest here, and it didn't pan out the way George Lucas wanted to or whatever it was, right? But you can't make her his sister, right? And there's some hints along the way. Let me go to this other clips here with Yoda.
Not go.
But Han and Leia will die if I don't.
You don't know that.
Okay, so Yoda says don't go is after he's being trained by Yoda. And he's telling Luke Skywalker not to go. And he says, Han and Leia will die without me. Now, a disembodied Obi-Wan Kenobi shows up, and he would have the ability to see into the mind, right? If you're no longer bound to a physical body, he would know what Luke was thinking and his feelings towards Leia. And so it's his duty to tell him it's your sister. Plus, as we later find out, the Jedi are all celibate. And Anakin wasn't even supposed to get busy with, Natalie Portman, who, we've already established has got her own creepy history of being exploited as a kid and sexualized. I mean, it's an absolute mess.
Even Yoda cannot see their fate.
But I can help them.
This is a dangerous time for you.
Yes, yes. To Obi-Wan, you listen.
And so Leia was also a potential Jedi, right? And they, get into this at the end, but they're saying like bail on your friends and complete your training. And we later learned that they were thinking Anakin Skywalker was too old to train when he was 10. In fact, the council said don't train him, and Obi-Wan Kenobi's master, Qui-Gon Jinn, whatever his name was, said to train him anyway, right? Disobeyed them. And, right?
Patience.
And sacrifice Han and Leia.
If you honor what they fight for, yes.
If you choose to face Vader, you will do it alone. I cannot interfere.
Okay, so there's quite a bit there, right? Tells him to go ahead and sacrifice Han and Leia. And, they both know it's his sister. They should. I mean, again, if it's not established yet, then it should have never been put out there, right? But they also know she's his sister, and they should say something to him. Yeah, that's your sister, by the way, right? It's just bad movie making and just really creepy. And so I'm going to go back and hopefully I'll remember to do this. I'm going to take all three of these. I included these three things about Star Wars in 3 different videos, and I'm going to put them together into one. And I got more stuff to do, whatever. So I'm going to end this here, and I'll, add some final thoughts about this whole thing after I combine these into one video. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely points from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.